Next on the DragonShip.
Thor fucked up. He gave me the lead? Does he know what happened to my last channel? Shit. On this episode of the DragonShip, we're going to be talking about accountability. You know, that thing that everybody complains about other people not having when they don't have it themselves. That shit.
No, Glenn, women are not to blame.
Classic he said, she said case. Somebody isn't telling the truth. He says he wasn't even at the party. So what is your process to determine who's telling the truth here?
Well, listen, I think it's going to be about, it comes down to credibility, to your point, Gail, and it's going to be about listening to what each party has to say, but I believe her.
A woman who accused Justice Brett Kavanaugh of rape has admitted she made it all up. When investigators confronted left-wing activist Judy Monroe Layton, she admitted it was all just a ploy to stop the nomination. It nearly ruined a man and his family.
Women are less powerful than men, therefore they deserve to have less accountability. But wait, when a woman rises up because she's strong, and yes, queen, power to girls, oh wait, if I get drunk, it's still the guy's fault. There is no accountability for me. There's no agency. I'm just a little girl. No, we've been demeaned our entire existence from men.
Exactly. I think
What?
we're not going to be taken seriously because we don't have the same accountability as men.
I'm not fresh and fit. Preach, your wife is a fat
Donovan Sharp made a video recently talking about my alleged wife.
It's not my wife.
No, she's a comedian.
She's a comedian.
Teen Vogue columnist Emily Linden, who said she had no issues with men losing their jobs over false sexual assault allegation. Quote, here's an unpopular opinion. I'm not concerned at all about innocent men losing their jobs over false sexual assault harassment allegations, she tweeted last week.
Woman seems to be, Sarah is saying that it doesn't matter that all men are guilty by virtue of being men. That's the opposite of justice. That's collective punishment. You wouldn't be for that, would you?
No, I mean, I'm not for social injustice, but what she's trying to say that it would be microscopic compared to what women have been through.
In other words, you're saying, like, I think what happened to women is wrong, so I'm going to do it to men because it feels good.
But I want to say one thing to the American people. I want you to listen to me. I'm going to say this again. I did not have sexual relations with that woman. Indeed, I did have a relationship with Miss Lewinsky that was not appropriate. In fact, it was wrong. It constituted a critical lapse in judgment and a personal failure on my part, for which I am solely.
Men are the easiest thing in the entire world. I have never wanted a man and not gotten him. Do you have any idea how many men have wanted me?
I want to talk about your relationship.
We have actually been having trouble finding that balance because recently it's been a little hard for him to reconcile my past, and that has caused some issues in the relationship. And we're working through it and trying to communicate.
That a large component of what she's trying to describe right here is what inevitably led to the divorce.
I've already said publicly that I banged 2 trannies, okay? Everyone knows a lot of the hottest girls that you will ever see on the planet are trans.
Nigga, that's gay.
For the record, I'm not interested in men whatsoever. Most people won't be able to understand this, and they'll think, you know, that I must be bi or something like that.
I am not gay. I have relationships with women and sex with men.
And I got news for you. That means you're gay.
So get ready for a real touchy topic. I mean, just the intro alone probably pissed off a few people. We got to talk about why accountability is important and how lacking accountability can affect our relationship and how accountability is key to have order in society.
Yo, yo, yo. This is the takeover of the DragonShip. It's your boy, Glenn Lawrence. You know, today, we're going to get into it. Accountability. You know, it's funny. We all talk about how people need to be held accountable. Women blame men. Men need to be more accountable. Men blame women. Women need to be more accountable. But, you know, the real reality is that we all need to be more accountable. None of us measure up. None of us do. But how does accountability or lacking accountability impact the world that we live in? How does you not being accountable affect the world around you? How does it affect the people you interact with? How does it impact your relationships? So we're going to be talking about that today. So let's go ahead and bring up who we have here. We got the one and only RP Thor. And I jumped the gun, I guess. My bad.
I'll do it next time. No worries. How you doing, man?
Doing good. Doing good.
Saturday morning. I love this topic about having you talk to us about it because, you know, I mean, part of masculinity is a big deal. You know, I did quite a bit of research on this. I wanted to know, you know, I mean, the traits of masculinity. We always talk about honor, strength, self-discipline, mastery, ownership, conquest, emotional regulation, durability, foresight, leadership, provisioning, security, respect, pride, competitiveness, risk-taking, stoicism, mystery, passion, and compassion. What is missing out of that list? Most people don't add
accountability.
Exactly. That's the big one at the end. So here we go, Glenn. Thank you for bringing it up. Let me go ahead and run my introduction.
The most masculine man on the fucking planet that I've ever seen. Red Pill Authority.
So tell me, the video is really good. Tell me what your intent was to do, and let's have that conversation.
Yeah, like I picked some really triggering points, right? And moments and people that we have seen over time that either someone never took accountability for, or they did reluctantly. So in the beginning, right, we have, you know, some content creators say that women just don't need to be accountable. Women are not accountable for anything. And then, you know, we show examples of bad female behavior where it's like they need to be held. There needs to be a form of accountability there, right?
Yeah.
Then we have bad behavior of our presidents, right? Bill Clinton lied to the entire people when he said he didn't have any relations with that woman. He only admitted so reluctantly when, you know, he was ordered to, basically.
Yeah,
right?
he was forced to, huh?
Yeah. And that's not an example of being accountable. That's not accountability. Accountability is doing it, like taking ownership of, you know, your actions without being forced to. There's not true, you know, peace in that accountability. And I noticed that, like, we all lack it. There's not one person on this earth that is completely accountable for anything, for everything. You know, there's times in our own lives where we're not even accountable to ourselves.
Wait. No, not really. Yeah, exactly. Of course. I mean, isn't it in our human nature? I mean, do you remember when you're a little kid and, you know, you're in there with your family and your friends and mom's sitting around and somebody's going, and then you'd immediately go, I didn't do it. Nope, not me. So it goes pretty deep, doesn't it?
It does. It does. Like, how many times have you like said, like, oh, you know what? I'm going to go to the gym today. Today I'm going to the gym, or I'm going to start going to the gym next week. And then next week comes and you don't go, right? You're not even accountable to your own actions. The things that you say to yourself, you're not accountable, you know? And it's like, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Is like, first, we got to be accountable to ourselves as men. You know, if we're not even accountable to ourselves, how can we expect to, one, hold anybody else accountable, two, expect anybody else to be accountable if we ourselves are not willing to do it? How can we ask something of someone else that we're not we won't be willing to give someone else?
So I think people are going to need guidance on this, because holding yourself accountable is somewhat of a pattern of habit and a force of will, because it's easy not to be accountable because have you ever seen anybody that just guilts themselves to death to where they can't move? That's a big part of it too, I think.
Oh yeah.
And so it's much easier not to do that, because, okay, you can have some peace in your own head, not to hold yourself accountable. Glenn, you ever not go to the gym one day?
Oh yeah.
I know you're a big workout guy.
Yep, there's been many days where
And you know what you do mentally when you circulate on that. You know that's actually bad. That's not what's going to drive you the next day. You can actually damage your ability to go because it could be such a vicious circle when you're not. Accountability can be a hell if you don't know how to use it. Right?
It's right. You have to understand it's a tool. It's like gold is purified through fire, right? Accountability sometimes is the fire that we need to be purified. And it is, we have to look at it as that. It's not always going to feel good. Actually, I don't think it ever really feels good being held accountable, but it's what we need at times to get over that hump, to get past that stopping point that's sticking us back, that's holding us back. According to the Webster's dictionary, right? Accountability is the quality or state of being accountable, an obligation, or the willingness to accept responsibility or account for one's actions. How many times have we heard or even said, oh yeah, okay, look, the reason why I didn't do that was because of this, and then this person said this to me, and then Wraith was late, and I was like, what the fuck? And it's like we just deflect and we push off everything on reason why we are the way we are because of everybody else, or because of some circumstance, or because of something else. And it's like we say sorry. And have you ever heard that people go, I'm sorry, but it was this, and you know what? And then you said this, and then your apology is gone. That apology was nothing, And it's like there's a lack of accountability that we all have, and we have to acknowledge it, in order to make some changes.
Just for your information. Hey, just for your
brother. Good to have you aboard the DragonShip once again.
Yeah. Just for your information, Glenn, I'm never late. I'm just where the universe wants me at that time.
Yeah, the universe runs on Wraith time, man. We were just early.
And so coming from a biblical background, right? So I'm going to throw this in there. Like for those that read the Bible, like the best scripture that I found for this is in Romans 14:12, which says, so then each one of us shall give account of himself to God. So it's like we're all going to have to answer for ourselves. We can't blame anybody for ourselves. We can't blame anybody for our circumstances that we choose to stay in. But we also have to be accountable. That's not from a personal level. But what do you guys think about a personal accountability? How hard is it for people to be personally accountable for themselves?
Well, in order to be personally accountable for yourself, you have to take personal responsibility for yourself and your beliefs, your actions, and all those things. So unless you can do that, accountability doesn't come into play at all.
Yep. I completely agree. You absolutely have to be responsible for yourself. And this is where we really fall down by not helping young men through rites of passage learn the discipline of self-accountability. And really, that's what I like. I like self-accountability. I think far too many of us think that accountability is calling out names, and that's not really true. That's you don't hold others account other than in the fact that you cut them out of your life. That's really how you do it. You hold yourself accountable, and part of your self accountability is being able to screen those that harm you and those that add value in your life. I think it's very popular to point fingers and go, look at them, I'm going to hold them to account, especially with our politicians. I mean, it's all about holding somebody else accountable. That's why I loved your Bill Clinton thing, because that's very classic, like smelling the fart in the elevator and saying, nah, it wasn't me, So
why is accountability important though? Like, why is it important to be accountable?
I don't think it is important. I think it's in the sense that if you're holding yourself personally responsible for your behaviors, your actions, your values, and those kind of things, in reality, accountability never comes into play.
Right.
If you're just doing what you say you're going to do.
Right.
Yeah.
I think from personal accountability, that comes from not making goals or not doing those kind of things. And that accountability isn't damaging. It's, hey, I didn't do this, so I need to hold myself accountable for that and make sure that I do it the next time. It's
I like that.
It's the accountability that causes shame of not fulfilling your obligations as a man or as a husband and those kind of things. Or not holding yourself accountable emotionally, and doing, behaviors that are outside of your values and norms. Your norms, not society's, yours.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, then you would say that accountability and responsibility go hand in hand.
I think responsibility trumps accountability.
Yes.
Because if you're responsible, you never had the accountability issue. Okay. If you're fulfilling all, and let's face it, no one does it 100% of the time. Thor holds himself accountable when he backs down. I hold myself accountable. But it's that striving for 100% responsibility for yourself and others that you've taken into your life. Okay. And, and for whatever responsibilities you take on, if you're fulfilling those obligations, accountability never comes into play.
Well, then part of being responsible is being responsible enough to hold yourself accountable.
I guess
it's goal setting too, and I understand where Ray's coming from. It's really rooted in setting goals for yourself, no matter how small. And if you miss them, the accountability side is in creating a structure mentally to kind of punish yourself so that it's uncomfortable and you don't miss those goals the next time.
But you don't want the punishment, and Thor can talk about this too. You don't want the punishment to become dirty fuel. Okay. Yeah. Because that's when you start shaming yourself.
Yep.
When you start using it as dirty fuel, that's the shaming. Okay. Yep. And the shaming comes from, it can come from trauma, or it can come from the inner talk on how you talk to yourself based on, the presuppositions you have about the language you use with yourself and those kind of things. So you're constantly, you want to hold yourself accountable, but you want to hold yourself accountable in a positive way so that it structures you to meet the goal. Okay.
Let's talk about that for a minute, Rafe, because that is a super good distinction. Part of holding yourself accountable is also recognizing your successes, and you can extend that to the successes and others that you were involved with. Right. Because by recognizing that I'm on track, I might have missed a few, but looky here, this is what I accomplished. That's a big part of holding of self accountability too, is creating that pattern to do that.
Right. And when you're doing it for yourself, whether it's self accountability, or you're doing it because you failed to meet a goal, or you failed to meet a commitment because of helping someone else, it offsets, but not to the point where you can say, I'm not responsible for that. Okay.
Yes.
That should challenge you to go in and make a different approach or set different time aside so that you can meet both your needs, goals, and theirs, if you're making, or any obligation you've made to them.
I like how you bring up other people, because I think this is where I want to take it next. Is that, well, I mean, look, we are on these cameras. We are talking to people. People are watching us. There's 15 people in this chat room right now watching the things that we say.
Yes.
Do you believe that we have a responsibility, or do you believe that we have to be accountable for what we say to people?
Well, that would be society's pressure to hold others accountable. Society definitely holds society at large accountable. That's why we have laws and regulations, and we have societal norms which we conform to. Those are accountability in that regard, is a sense of enforcement. I made a promise with the DragonShip, and as these Vikings pile in, and you did too, to hold ourselves accountable to produce the best content that we can. So in a sense, we hold ourselves accountable to them. Do they hold us accountable to it? They show up on time.
Well, I mean, do you think that we have to, because, if we're out here giving misinformation, do we have to correct that misinformation?
I think we have to be honest Okay. And
But
if
when you're not honest, do you need to be held accountable and accountable to your viewers and be like, hey, I wasn't entirely accurate here. You know,
in context, absolutely, 100%, because we might be doing a segment on entertainment and we're going to pull everybody's leg and we're going to give them a fake or two, and we're going to have fun with that. And that's not the same thing as us. In fact, what we're going to practice is the praxeology of it. We're going to use the best information we have at the time. And if it's not good, yes, having one of our viewers like Danny Arnold come back and say, have you seen this article? I look forward to the stuff he sends me, because what it does is it does, in a sense, hold me accountable to broaden my knowledge so that I have the proper response, so that this is actually very valuable. And I'll go back and say, hey, I didn't have all the information. This is where we're going. Thank you, Danny Arnold, Skull Brother, you know. So in a sense, yes, there is some accountability to our loyal listeners. Absolutely.
So, and this is where I feel like, you know, as influencers, there's you know, there is accountability that we have, or we have a responsibility to hold ourselves accountable, you know, for our either the things that we say or the things that we do or the things that we encourage other people to do, you know, that may not be accurate.
Okay, so that's why I go back to, I say, you have a responsibility to be honest. Okay, if you're honest, the accountability is there. Okay, and that means if I say something and you know, we'll beat Danny up since Tori used him already, and Danny sends me, says, no, I don't think that's right, I've read this. I have a responsibility to come in the next time we have a conversation about it and say, look, there are two sides to this. This is what I said. This is what other people have said. And, you know, I believe what I said, even if it's, you know, just basic, my opinion. All right. But I think we owe it to them to offer both sides, you know, to be fair and balanced. But in the same instance, I'm not going to go in, and if I read something and someone sends me something that's crap, I'm not going to go say, hey, you guys need to go read this crap to judge, you know, because, I mean, the truth is truth, you know, and, you know, a lot of people will come through and they'll say, well, you know, it's my truth. Well, I don't live off my truths. I live off my values. Okay. But I have to accept universal truths and, you know, make my values around those. I can't judge.
What about my truth?
Well, your truth's already skewed. Everybody knows it. So, you know.
Yeah.
But that's what they say, right? Well, this is my truth. So because this is my truth, I don't have to be accountable to what you say.
Right.
Do you see? So do we have an issue with that? And in this men's space, do we lack as men, as influence, accountability for what we do or say?
This is it. We're all. I'm going to say this. We are all men, okay, and we have in our DNA, we have innate responsibilities that we know we have. Okay. What a lot of us do is we try to get that out to men so that they can start recognizing that for themselves. All right, that's what we're doing. Now, I'm not trying to build a cult following. I don't think any of us are. All right. And, you know, I do that when I start working with guys. I just flat out tell them, I'm not your God. I'm not your guru. I'm not your I'm not your mentor from the standpoint of everything I say is going to apply to you. But I will help you experience and go through different exercises and stuff to see if that works for you. All right. But what I really want them to do is I want them to develop their own beliefs, their own values, and live by that. You know, I don't have a big problem if a guy says, hey, I want to be a beta, you know, and just to use a colloquial term, okay, let's make you the best one you can be, I guess, from the standpoint of at least meet masculine tendencies to the fullest possible extent.
Yeah.
You know,
I definitely agree with that. You use the tools you can to get the person in the right direction. If that's what it takes for belief, that's great. I do, Glenn, think there is an issue in our space. And here's the issue, which is you're gonna find different, is that accountability is being used, especially around this whole my truth situation, and they use it as a hammer to get clicks. I mean, we're seeing it already. We become kind of the target. There's a whole bunch of rush because there's a lot of really in our space. Red pill awareness opens up an entire line of thinking that men have not been exposed to for very long. A lot of men sporadically had this knowledge, but now a lot of men see this, and basically the dog pile is on. And guys say we need to hold other men accountable, and these red pill aware guys we're going to hold accountable. I think a lot of it's driven because I need clicks. Controversy needs clicks. And do they really hold us accountable when they come on and say RP Thor is a tremendously corpulent fat F that doesn't know what he's talking about? I mean, I had somebody even comment on ours and say, look at the gym behind him. He never even uses it. He looks like, really? I mean, come on, is that holding me accountable? So there's a whole bunch of that in our space for sure. And it seems to me,
there is a point to that though, right? If we are preaching something and we're refusing to practice in our own lives, we're not even practicing what we say. If we tell guys,
that's hypocrisy.
Yeah, we're being hypocrites, and it's like, I get it. We're all hypocrites to some degree, but if we were out here, being vocal, influencing or impacting, or giving men advice, saying that it's like this. We tell guys, don't get with OnlyFans girl. OnlyFans girls are for the streets, right? But these are the same guys that, once they see these 304s on Fresh and Fit, and they're all in the chat, chatting away, she's for the streets, 304, she's not wifey material. Those are the same guys that are buying her subscriptions.
Well, those are the same guys that I'm sitting there telling them, if you say something, you should be able to put it in practice. It doesn't mean you're not going to be, doesn't mean you're going to be 100% successful putting it in practice. Okay,
that's true.
We all fall short,
Yep. But isn't there a level of accountability amongst men if we're saying, hey, if we're saying that this woman behavior is bad, and we're saying this is bad behavior, and then we're the ones that are contributing to it by supporting it, then
I'm only accountable to the men that I have contact with.
Yeah.
I'm accountable to you. I'm accountable to Thor. I'm accountable to John. All those men that I support and all those men that support me, those are the people I'm accountable for. I'm not accountable for the other, 300 million or 300 billion or 1.5 billion men in the world that don't care a thing about what I say and don't care a thing about me. My responsibility is those that I pledge my oath to.
Yeah. And you know what? I love what you just said there, because when it comes to this interesting thought experiment, Glenn, think of it this way. If I'm going to say I'm holding all these other people accountable that are giving information on advice, I can go down the road and say, there's some people that give advice. It's me that actualizes it. So that's really where the accountability lies. Now, keeping that in mind, if I'm saying as the consumer, I'm going to hold these guys accountable that are saying all this stuff, which is what TradCon's say and which our detractors actually say, is that not practicing an unconscionable contract?
Well, yes, I would say to a degree, yeah. But we hold everybody accountable, right? Think about this. If somebody does you wrong, you remove them out of your life, that's holding them accountable.
Right.
You stop if the viewers decide, you know what, I don't want to watch Glenn Lawrence anymore because of his content, and he said this, but he doesn't do this. They're holding me accountable.
Or am I holding myself to my standard to move along if I find somebody that
I don't know Jose in the chat. It would be like me. It would be like me saying, okay, Jose, I'm removing you from life. We've never had a conversation. And the only thing he's never done is sit there and watch this show. Okay. But I just say, I'm removing you from my life. There's no accountability there. Okay?
Well, when you become an influencer, right, and you're getting paid by your views, or you're getting paid from subscriptions, that your subscribers leaving and no longer watching your channel is a form of accountability. They're like, we're not consuming your material no more because we don't agree with it.
and I'm fine with that because I don't have a relationship with them.
Yeah.
Okay? Them coming to my channel and me at them listening to me doesn't constitute a relationship. It constitutes a followership, I guess is the best way to put it, but it's not a relationship. They're not paying me anything other than if they want to super chat, hey, I don't believe what you say, or I believe what you say. That's a transaction there that, I don't hold myself accountable for. I give them my information, my experience, and my skills and knowledge for whatever they're for coming into this room. If they don't want to believe me, they don't have to believe me. I don't care.
Yeah. No, I get that. But when you think about it, there's a lot of content creators that make their bread and butter right here doing exactly what we're doing now. Okay. So there is a level of accountability that they do feel when their subscribers, like, okay, when Fresh and Fit got into a bunch of heat about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, and they lost like 30,000 subscribers, they felt it. They pivoted and they became accountable to what was said or what they did, and they apologized, and then they moved on. That right there is taking accountability. Okay, guys, I see what you're saying. I'm sorry. We're moving on.
I mean, you could say that's a course correction. I don't think that the audience held accountable per se. They responded to what their audience was sensitive to in a very logical and responsible manner. I think when we're trained, Glenn, we're trained in schools that men should be accountable and held accountable to the outside themselves. And women, they really are not trained. They're trained that they are not responsible or accountable to anything outside of themselves. I'm going to take it there right now.
Oh, let's go
that
there.
Has been the standard. And unfortunately, the churches have promoted this.
Absolutely.
In spades. You felt this when you went through your divorce. Who is being held accountable from outside? And when you say accountable from outside, I mean, this is what the law does. This is when you have a lawsuit and a contract broken. They're going to take from you to hold you accountable. You're not doing it voluntarily. So,
yeah, if you give me a minute, I actually got a clip of this for you guys. So,
nice.
But before we go to that, I just want to say something. Making money this way, and it's an artificial job. You put the time in and you do all the things, and you're hoping someone appreciates it and pays for the appreciation of it. Okay, a global community on the internet is a global community. Unless you have one-on-one conversation, I'm not saying you got to shake everybody's hand, but unless you have one-on-one conversations in private, whether it's over video or phone or whatever, there's no sense of relationship, I guess is the best way to put it. It's like dating over the phone, and you never get to actually have physical contact. Are you really dating? No, you're not. Okay, you don't know. You don't even know the basis of the relationship until you meet. All right, and from a male-female standpoint, that means having intimate contact. But I mean, you and I can have a relationship over this, and we can become friends, and we may do that for 2 years, then meet up and talk a little bit, shake hands, hug it out when we leave and all that stuff, and that's a relationship. Okay, because we become interdependent. We entangle our lives, at least in a professional way. We entangle those lives. Without that entanglement, there's not a relationship, and without the relationship, there's only this pseudo accountability that anyone can do you, or you can do to anyone else, and that's ghost them, block them, whatever. All right. My relationship that I have with you, my relationship that I have with Thor, is built on trust, conversations we've had. It's built on working together on projects and those kind of things. So the guy that checks in here once a week, I don't really owe him anything. If he wants to pay to keep the channel going so he can listen to me talk, that's one thing.
Yeah.
But
we love those guys, and we're going to give you some nice sound drops.
And I do appreciate everything they do, but they need to understand that they don't know me.
Yeah.
Okay. They're not living the life I'm living, and you know that's this whole doxing thing. That's just silly.
Yeah, doxing is a whole different thing, though, right? Like that's taking it past just regular problem. That's like a whole nother.
Well, it's an obsession. It's an obsession, you know, and it's a bad obsession. You know, I don't want anyone that comes to this podcast so obsessed with me they need to know everything about me. You know,
yeah.
Thor knows everything about me because we have a relationship. We
trust
and trust. You know,
and respect.
Right.
So
and that's why I don't go ahead and comment on other guys. I don't comment on what they say, what they do.
Go ahead and show the clip. I'm going to bring Phil Foster in after that. How about that?
Yeah.
I'll shut up. It's just I just wanted to put it in context.
You do, and I love it, Ray. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. You know, definitely, there's definitely a responsibility and respect in order to hold somebody accountable. You have to have those things: trust, respect, knowledge.
So this is Doug Wilson, and I will say that Doug Wilson and Rollo are, you know, this Doug Wilson and Rollo, and I think Doug Wilson and Del Rock were never on the same page a couple years ago. Doug Wilson actually really was very combative with Del Rock. And, you know, there was times where Doug Wilson was preaching really much against like red pill, you know, concepts. But his tune changes in this video. What he says here is completely different than what he's ever said before. But I will recommend you guys turning up the volume a little bit because this one is a little low on my end. So if you guys are viewing this, you guys want to hear this, just turn up the volume just a hair to be able to be able to hear what he says. Okay,
go for it.
Sins that the people in your congregation are likely to be committing.
Mm-hmm.
Right? What are they doing?
Yeah.
Because people can listen to you talk about other people's sins.
Yeah.
All day.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That the women of the church, in the evangelical church, the women of the church currently are the sacred cow. Currently, the group that you're not allowed to criticize or act as though they have struggles and temptations that are unique to their station, that group is women. Isn't it true that the prosperity gospel has a problem in that it treats Proverbs as though they were vending machine guarantees?
Right.
Like you do this and you get your product.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, it's something I just think when it comes to like the servant leader concept and complementarianism, it does seem to have an analogy to that, in that if something is wrong in your home, then it's always that you've been leading poorly. And it's like if you lead well, things will go right. Whereas I would say that if something is going wrong in your home and you're the man, then you need to make it your responsibility to like do something, whether or not it's to blame or not. But I don't think it's like, okay, how am I leading wrong? How am I not? So it's like, I'm not being enough of a servant leader. So I think we always are looking at, we're not being enough of a servant leader. And that is somehow the reason why our wife has this mysterious malaise. And like we're going through a rough patch in our marriage that seems to look at it as the husband's leadership is the determinant factor in how everyone else behaves.
So
which I don't believe is the case.
You're distinguishing.
What do you guys think there? Because it's true. It's true. I mean, when it comes to the church, that is something that they preach. You know, they husbands, your wife cheating on you, your fault. You weren't a servant leader. So they teach us accountability, especially to men. But women, it seems like women in society are not held accountable for anything. And we see that kind of reflected across the board, though. But do they lack accountability due to, for one, us never holding them accountable, and two, us not actually being good representations of being accountable?
I can say yes and no. Okay. If I'm with a woman, I think her only agency is sex, then what other than sex, what can I hold her accountable for? Okay. Now, if I have other things that I expect from her, then I can hold her accountable for that. But if it's being a good mother, being a good housekeeper, those kind of things, or whatever, you can only hold somebody accountable for an expectation that you both agreed upon. Okay, you can't hold someone accountable for something that, if you sit there and say, because then you're developing covert contracts. All right. You should be doing this just because I think you should be doing this because I've done this for you. That's a covert contract she doesn't know anything about. All right. And that's why the covert contract for sex happens so often, because they think that's the woman's agency and that she should be doing it. And then they go in and they provide the safety, security, and then the 1,000 other chores that they've done. And they think, well, why she owes me sex. Okay. But that mindset only values her as the sexual object in the relationship.
So you're saying since in this space we say basically women are just sexual objects and men are success objects. If we only look at them as a sexual object, then we can only expect that from them. So loyalty, honesty, respect, we shouldn't be expecting that from someone that we only view as a sex toy.
If you're with a woman, all right, and you say, I want to have sex with you, and you don't have a discussion about fidelity, behaviors that you expect, the commitment that you expect from her for the family, kids, and whatever, then the only thing that you can really hold her accountable for is the sex. All right. It's like with any relationship, with the relationship between you and I. If you say, hey, these are the things I need, to be in this business relationship with you, and you identify that, we develop a contract, and it's an overt contract.
Hold on, I'm going to pause right here. I want to give a shout out to Mr. Danny Arnold. Thor, you going to hit him with the hammer? Can't hear you, Thor.
Yeah, let me go ahead and do that. This was just a test. I'm going to actually bring up one of his other comments, but he deserves the war horn. So thank you for the supers, guys. We want to get right to your questions. This is a good conversation on covert contracts, accountability, and why it's important. So Glenn brought us some good stuff here. Let's go ahead. Is this how we hold them accountable, Glenn and Phil? Maybe we should bring a bunch of chicks on the show and fill them full of White Claws, then hold them accountable. Would that be a covert contract?
Yeah.
Thanks, Danny. You're one of the best, man. Appreciate you.
Phil says something interesting here. He wrote in the comments, right? A good woman will in fact let you hold her accountable for her errors. Learn from those errors and not make them again. Wow. I mean, Phil, you said a good woman.
Yeah, good woman. And so,
but not any woman?
No, let me tell you something, man. Unfortunately, I'm in a camp. I'm in this camp, man. I read the damn book. No, but seriously, if you think about this for a second, you get a woman in your life and you just, she's a sex object to you. Of course, when you try to correct any kind of behaviors, that's never going to get straight. Interestingly enough, a good woman, when you do in fact hold her accountable, will learn from those errors and move on and not make those again, because she wants to be in your presence, right? She understands, hey, to be in this guy's life, this is what I need to be handling. This is what he expects of me. He's overtly told me exactly what he wants from me. If I don't meet those expectations, then what am I doing? Well, she's manipulating is what she's doing, because she's getting something out of that relationship that she wants, period. So I think when you start holding women accountable, the simple fact still remains that a lot of guys, they're in situations, and this is I'm speaking from my own personal experience. When you hold people accountable and you say, hey, these are my boundaries, and if you cross these boundaries and continue to push against these boundaries, we're done. A lot of guys, they fear Am I on the right track, Wraith? They fear the outcome of holding them accountable to begin with. Okay, so with that fear being in place, they don't want the boat to be rocked. They don't want things to be ugly or upsetting, or they just want things to be nice and chill. But the problem still remains the same, that the guy in the situation that he's in with the woman that he can't hold accountable is frustrated, right? So he's putting up with shit he shouldn't have to. So but let me finish. I'm almost done. So when you start holding a woman accountable, if she doesn't learn from those errors, and you say, hey man, these are the boundaries I laid out for you and you've crossed them, don't do that anymore, we're done, and she crosses them again, she doesn't fucking respect you, man. And so then you got to really take a hard look at what she's doing in your life. What value is she even bringing? Is she even worth that kind of trouble? 9 times out of 10, they are not.
Well, Bill and I talked a little bit about that after the last show. There's boundaries, there's ultimatums, and then there's self-ultimatums.
Yeah.
In relationships. Okay. A boundary is something that if you have a frame and you've laid out these expectations of life, okay, and they break those expectations, does that mean the first time you have to say no, you're gone? No, it doesn't. But because there's a learning process in relationships. But at some point, you have to say, we're done. Okay. Now, the ultimatum comes out of frustration. The ultimatum comes from, if you do this one more time, and in that, on the third time she's done it one more time, you're trying to live by ultimatums. All right.
Doesn't work.
It doesn't work. All right. And all it does is it frustrates you, and it lets her know that she can keep pushing your boundaries, and there's no accountability or no circumstance from breaking those boundaries. The soft ultimatum is when she shit tests you, and you can either not check it, or you can put a soft ultimatum in. Like, well, that's not what we really agreed on. But there's no consequences for it at all. Like saying, this is 3. I tell you the story about the mule my dad told me, and I kind of do this. Guy gets on his cart with a mule. They go down the road about 2 miles. The mule stops. Guy gets off, and he's got his brand new wife with him. Okay, she's setting up on the buckboard. He gets off the buckboard, walks over, grabs the mule, looks the mule straight in the eye, and points his finger and says, "That's 1." Gets back on the cart. Mule starts moving forward. 2 miles down the road again, mule stops. Gets off the cart, goes in, grabs the reins, looks the mule straight in the eye, points his finger. That's 2. Gets back on the cart. 4 miles down the road, mule stops again. Gets off the cart, walks over, grabs the rein, hits the mule right between the eye, and mule drops over dead. His wife looks at him. She goes, "Now what are we going to do?" He goes, "That's 1." Okay. He understands his limits, and he understands when to walk away from something. Okay.
Yeah.
That's what men need to understand. What are your limits? What can you walk away with? You're going to have boundaries in your they're going to test your boundaries. And that's in any relationship, not just a male-female relationship. In male-male relationships, it happens all the time. People are going to test your boundaries. But you have to know when 3 is 3. Now, guy got off the horse, got off the cart, went to the mule. He didn't sit there and try to bargain with him. He gave him quick consequences. But he didn't issue an ultimatum that he couldn't keep, or that he wouldn't keep. And way too many times, men issue ultimatums, and all they do is erode your boundaries.
Roger that. let me address this a
Sorry,
little bit and get some of the supers.
Super chats, right?
Yeah, let me get some super chats up here, guys. We got Jose. Let's go ahead and give him a good strike here. Thank you for that $4.99. It really helps keep the stream going. We really, really do appreciate that. And I want to actually address something here because I think probably the girls are going to feel a little put out by the way we said we hold them accountable. We're being very rational, being very blunt with it. Wouldn't you guys say? But I mean, you can look at a Coco says it perfectly. She doesn't mind taking accountability. It helps her improve herself. She will admit that it's more challenging to take accountability on something she might feel shame from, but she knows she has to do it. Now, with that, I want to just go ahead and talk about accountability. In our space, we see a lot of things as just so black and white. And from Glenn's channel, check this out. While women definitely need accountability too, it's often received as hate, jealousy, envy, or oppression. Now, what I would say about that is it's all in how you present this, because what I've actually found in my life and with some of the consults that I've had is that if you're having to project that you're holding somebody accountable, you're going to get pushback. At some point, if you laid your boundaries correct, like Wraith was talking about, it's very seamless. That accountability becomes self-accountability on her part, not something you do. And that's very different than perceiving as hell. She's accountable to that relationship too, if you've done it correctly. Phil said, hey, good women, good women hold themselves accountable in that relationship to your leadership. And your accountability is to you performing comprehensive, compassionate, compliant conditioning. You don't have to announce it. You just do it. Anyway, that was my 2 cents, and I wanted to address those comments because I thought they were pretty damn good.
I want to bring something up here, and I'm going to get Laurent in here too, because Laurent from Tokyo is awesome, from Possum. But check this out, like we hear like things like alpha men can cheat, high value men are allowed to cheat. Those are literally talking points that are coming from content creators in this space. When is becoming a high value man meaning that you don't have to have integrity for the relationship and that you entered in? If you entered in a monogamous relationship, you're like, this is the relationship that we have, and then you decide that you are going to step out of that, and then when caught, you're saying, hey, I'm high value, bitch. I could do this. You can't. Is that a problem?
That's total ignorance. That's total ignorance.
But do you see how the thing that being said, high value man can cheat is misleading to guys. It is a false. It's not accurate what they're trying to get at. That's a catchy phrase that's being spit out there that is not entirely exactly what it means. Like Rosa says, women would rather share an alpha than settle with a beta.
Well, that's different than saying high value men can cheat.
It's an emotional statement in order to get the gals upset. So it's anybody can cheat. Okay. It doesn't matter whether you're high value or not.
Well, yeah, but they're saying like they can cheat and it be okay. It's not bad if they cheat because they're high value.
Well, but that's somebody selling the snake oil.
Yeah.
Okay. That's exactly what that is.
Or someone reading into that statement the permission to do so. But you create that reality. I mean, if it begs the question, is it really cheating when it's known up front that you may not be monogamous? I mean, that's really what we're talking about. It's sexual infidelity. But there's more than just that. There's financial cheating too, right? I promise you so much money, but then I steal your money. That's cheating. Deprivation of resources could be viewed as cheating too. I promise something and I break my promise. If I don't have that promise or I set the conditions up front, in no way could it be viewed as cheating. It may be upsetting, but it's not. But I think it's a really clever way to get, shall we say, a woman's feathers ruffled.
Well, I mean, wouldn't you also say that, let's say a guy's in a relationship, hypothetically, he gets caught cheating. Well, I'm high value. It's not cheating. I'm exercising my options. Well, that's different. Now, a woman would be like, why would she not want to be held accountable, or why would she respect your boundaries if she doesn't even see you respecting the boundaries you lay out?
No, I've worked with guys that have, well, multiple women in their lives, and the contract is the contract, guys. And what I mean is the conversation that you have is the conversation. If you meet a woman and you say, "Hey, I really like spending time with you. I'd like to be with you. I want us to, be a couple." And one of her hard values is, I need monogamy. All right. Then if you're going to be with that person, you should probably honor that. All right. If you go in and you say the same thing, but she doesn't say, I want monogamy, and you ask, well, are you willing to share me with, the 3 other women I have in my life? And she goes, yeah. Then that's the contract.
Can I propose a question?
Agree.
Sure.
What if? Here's a good question for Wraith right here, because he's the one that's dialed in on this one right here with the contract. What happens if you have a woman and she agrees to that and then walks it back later?
Then she's broke the contract.
Then she's broke the contract 100%. So then she's the one that's failed the agreement, not you.
Right.
Okay.
Well, you need to go to my course on comprehensive, compassionate compliance conditioning and start all over.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
What's that?
CCCR, okay, registered trademark.
There's a term engineers use when it's a project is scrapped or it's just a big waste of money. Do you guys know what that is?
Waste of money.
It's a big waste of money.
Sunk cost fallacy.
No, that's the red pill. That's the red, clusterfuck. No. Right? Come on, man. You're a smart guy. What is it?
I can't remember. I know what you're talking about.
It's called a boondoggle.
Yeah, boondoggle. There you go.
That's a clusterfuck.
If you don't know what the word boondoggle means, look it up and read it, and then look at your life, and then you'll have a really good understanding of where you're at as a man.
The answer is yes, Danny.
Danny, but they typically like that type of accountability.
That's a reward.
Yeah, it's more of a reward. It's not a punishment. The punishment will be not taking out the riding crop.
But like I say, it's when you enter into a relationship, and if you want a multiple partner relationship between you and 4 other women, you have to be upfront and honest about that up front. You can't. And if they back off, then you say, hey, that wasn't our agreement.
See, I agree with
you.
Now,
but wait a minute. Now it's your choice whether you sacrifice the agreement to stay with the person, or if you say, no, I'm holding fast to our agreement and go somewhere else and find someone that wants to participate in that. Okay. But just as much as she's in control of who she's going to sleep with and how she's going to manage that, you're in control of who you want to sleep with and how you're going to manage that. All right. And if the two can't become, co-equal agreement, then there's no relationship.
Yeah. And that has many facets, actually. I mean, the covert contract really just destroys the ability to communicate openly. I shouldn't say it. I have a whole different view on the way we do open communication. But, it might be just as simple as okay, so you want to have, you're not going to have a monogamous relationship, but she might be in a position that maybe I'll come to that agreement, but I'll tell you so far, don't embarrass me. Don't make it public. I don't want to know. And just, could you have that kind of respect? Now, it's not cheating in that condition. That conditions that you set.
But it's an open relationship on your side that she knows it's an open relationship, but she doesn't want to know the particulars.
Correct.
Yeah, I mean, that's not cheating as long as everybody's informed on how you plan on operating. Now,
but wait a minute. Now, let me say this. Though you do owe the primary woman an obligation.
You do.
You owe her an obligation not to use resources and stuff to support the other
and to protect her. Right.
Amen.
I agree with that. Now, let me ask you a question, Glenn, and the rest of the panel here, because this is where people it's such a controversy to come out there and say, yeah, cheating for a high value man. It's okay. It's what it is. Yes. Okay. We're talking a very small percentage, but in reality, a lot of us will say, well, he just has options. And immediately, with the emotions running high, those options are wet hole. Here we go. Right. That's not exactly what options are. There's some nuance here with options, realize. High value men do have options. They have options to access young fertile females. Do they exercise those options? It's not so much that they exercise them. They don't have to. I know plenty of men that have that and they don't exercise it. But guess what? The options are available if she looks to see he has them. And there's something about that really triggers something very instinctual in a woman that really kind of solidifies her dedication to that man, knowing that he has the capability of exercising these options at any time. Now, whether he does or not, that depends on, at least in my mind, what Wraith is talking about here. Some will choose to hide it completely. And in that case, she could view that as cheating and a violation of her trust with him. And in other cases where it is something that's known but not spoken about, I don't see that as cheating as long as he's protecting and not removing resources as he's promised. But these options don't have to necessarily mean every time is just a sexual option. They are sexual options that may or may not be exercised. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, you've even heard people talk. When people have a relationship like that, where the wife knows that the man's out doing that. I've heard women say, well, she's okay with it, so I guess it's okay. They don't look, they're not even looking at it as cheating. Okay. They understand that, she has allowed, in a sense, she's allowed that to be a part of the relationship. So, and the guy's not looked down upon. He's not looked down as the dog. Okay.
And I think that's the difference, right? That's the difference between, cheating. Cheating is still cheating. Cheating is at the end of the day, this is what cheating is. Cheating is not giving someone the information that they need to make an informed decision about what they're going to do with their life. If you willingly withhold information and mislead them to think that you're living by a certain expectation that they're being held to, but you're not, you are cheating them out of the information that they need in order to make a decision on how they want to operate their life. So, and I think that has nothing to do with sex. That has everything. You could cheat somebody, you could be cheating somebody and also not telling them the truth about something that, that they need to know. That they can alter their course in their life, so that's the big thing there. It's like, no, high value man can't cheat and it still be everybody can cheat. It's not acceptable, period, if you want honesty in your relationship or you want to be known as an honest person, to cheat or to sleep with somebody that you are not with. If you are in a committed monogamous relationship, it's still breaking that commitment of monogamy that you made. Okay. If you want to step outside of that, you want to have an open relationship or you want it open on your end, you're upfront about it from the beginning. Hey, I'm into this. Okay. If you want to be with me, you got to accept this, but I expect you not to be doing X, Y, and Z. Okay. That's not cheating.
No. And that's why I put my comment back up there. Anything that goes against the agreement is cheating and failing. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't have to be sex. It could be anything.
Sure.
You're cheating your partner, your significant other, out of anything that you do not hold your end of the agreements in your relationship to. If from the front side it's laid out and on the table, it's not. And that's the thing, right? And Wraith made a valid point, and then Thor, you circled on that shit. The primary woman 100% deserves all of the resources. She lives with you. She has all of those things, and those resources don't go to those other women. That's why she is your main girl.
She has first right of refusal.
Boom. First right of refusal. I love that.
Really? That's exactly
that's basically what it is.
I need a blowjob. First right of refusal. Okay, dear. No, dear.
Yeah, but
Okay.
you're providing the security, the comfort, the provisioning. You're providing all that for your main woman. And so the interesting the piece to that, right, is if it's laid out there in a manner to where she understands, hey, this is who he is and this is what he wants, and I understand this is what it's going to take to be with this gentleman, then that's that. Now, that's why I proposed my question to you, Wraith, about when a woman makes that agreement at the beginning of the relationship, and then maybe she's like, hey, this is too tough. And he starts getting shit, right? So then it goes back to the mule rule. That's 1, that's 2, that's 3, right between the eyes, you're out of there.
All right.
Yeah. And so that's the thing, right? Is men operate out of fear and they do not want to deal with those boundaries being crossed.
I would say, I don't even think it's fear anymore. I just think it's mostly thirst. And it's not just thirst for sex.
You think it's scarcity?
It's a scarcity mindset. It's, if she leaves, I'm going to lose this much money. I'm not going to be able to make that money back. If she leaves, I'm going to lose, sex. If she leaves, they base their whole decision on what they think they're going to lose, and they stay in relationships that aren't happy, as opposed to saying, if this happens, I can start over. And that's one of the things I tell guys. When you're coming in or out of a relationship, the first thing you have to do is you have to be able to let go of it. All right.
Never get yourself into anything that you can't walk out in 30 seconds or less when the heat's around the corner.
Right. Yeah. But the thing is, they hold on to that.
Here's a good one, Wraith, right here. Lana texted me this. I didn't know she was even watching today. And so she says, what if a woman understands that she has to share the man to be with him and agrees? Is it breaking the contract if she doesn't like sharing the man? And she directed this in my text to me, asking about you, Wraith, to answer this. Sharing the man, but she still does it because she wants to be with him. Is she breaking the agreement or the contract between the two of them? This is a great question, man. That's actually awesome from a woman's perspective.
I'm going to say it's not breaking the contract, because we all do things in life we don't enjoy doing.
Yep.
Okay.
And we do them anyway.
And
I think Lana said that before.
We do them anyway because we want the benefit of the outcome. All right. I
go like paying your mortgage. That's part of a contract, right?
I made agreement to pay it, right? So I have to pay it. Even though every time I sit there and write the check every month, I'm like, these bastards. But the thing is life is about choices. All right. And when I say, I say this in a couple different ways, but life is also about understanding that some choices require compromise. All right. If the outcome is greater than the compromise, then you shouldn't, you may not like it, but you shouldn't feel like that you're being cheated or shortcomed because of it, because you still get the outcome.
Yeah. And what's that outcome? Basically, based on this question, the outcome is what? The provisioning, security, all of it. Yeah, you have all of that as a woman. I mean, that's the interesting thing, right? That's Lana and I go around and around about this. We talk about this all the time, and it's interesting, because there's a whole side of this world that you see on social media as well, man, especially TikTok, where there's like a lot of people, man, that are out there living that lifestyle, and it's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting. And,
navigating it certainly is.
Yeah, it is.
There are ripples, shall we say.
Ripples, tidal waves.
You know what? It's a good point to mention that people that are navigating this and might be watching this is something that we would definitely openly talk about in the Dragons membership. Really not for YouTube.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of sensitivities here and discretion. Yeah. It can be navigated successfully to the benefit of all, but it is not something you cookie cutter off YouTube.
Yeah, I use it as an example, right? I want to make sure that you guys understand. I was using this topic as an example to talk about how there's times where there's content creators out here that are telling people it's okay to cheat if they're high value.
That's incorrect.
That's what I'm trying to get at. That's the main focus of it, is like, No, there's accountability there. There's accountability factor that when you're in a committed relationship or you commit to something, you say you're going to do X, Y, and Z, and then you choose to say, well, I'm not going to do that because I'm doing this because I'm this person. You're not accountable to the agreement that you made to this person or this party or I bought this house. I agreed to make this payment. You know what? Fuck the bank. I ain't paying this shit no more. There's a consequence to that. The consequence is the accountability that we have to face. And part of that is, you know, if we are not upholding our end, like Phil was saying, if we're not doing everything that we say we're doing, right? How can we expect them to be accountable to us when we are not even accountable to ourselves or to our own agreement? Laurent, I want to throw that question to you.
Here's a question about integrity. Like, I mean, personally, what we see in Asia is, I mean, I guess it's pretty much the same around the world. But if you hold yourself to certain standards of integrity, then you can expect integrity from the other person. Now, as far as having side chicks and so on and so forth, here in Asia, it's more or less accepted, it's more or less tolerated. Well, you know, because all the resources and all the attention reverts to the children, and some needs are not met. So, as Saul was saying before, well then, do it on the side. Nobody needs to know. Nobody wants to know. But as long as you preserve the integrity, as long as you keep it very discreet, it's tolerated. But with that said, is it a breach of integrity? Of course it is. Of course it is. On both sides. On both sides. So, I mean, do we all live in integrity at all times? No, of course there are certain things that we can't live in integrity with everything. Now, is it integrity that irremediably damage the relationship? Sometimes it is. Sometimes it is, especially when it's openly flaunted. Did I answer your question, Glenn?
Well, I wanted to see and understand like the concept. See, when we lack integrity, and we lack being responsible to uphold what we say we're going to do, right? And we avoid accountability, then how can we expect those that, you know, how can we expect a woman to respect our boundaries or our guidelines when we show them we don't even respect them? And then they're going to start behaving a certain way. And then we're gonna be like, well, wait a minute. Hey, you stop that. You're doing wrong. I told you it's not right.
Wait. What's the context? I lost it there.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Let me ask you a question. Okay. If you have a set of boundaries, all right, and you don't uphold your boundaries, does that mean you don't respect your boundaries? Or does it mean that you're human and that you're going to fail once in a while? All right. Now, if you say, I believe in honesty and integrity above all else, and then I come over to your house, I chase your wife, I lie to you, and then, you know,
Jesus, Rafe.
Then you probably have a valid point to doubt whether or not I believe those things. Okay. Now, but if I come over to your house and I'm respectful to your relationship, and I'm honest with you in everything I say, and you know, when you ask me to do something, I do it, or I at least come to an explanation of you why I can't do it. Okay, then I'm practicing honor, integrity, and honesty. So it's do your actions exhibit what you say you're doing?
Yes, that's what I'm getting at. That's what I'm getting at. It's like when our actions don't exhibit what we say, then we are really not in the place, or we don't have a whole lot of room to expect others to uphold an agreement.
Okay, so I'm going to use the same example. I come over, and one of those I kind of waver on. I don't lie to you. I do what I always say, but I find Coco kind of attractive, so I'm flirting with her.
Well, who doesn't?
And then you come up to me and you say, "Hey, I found that offensive." All right, and I say, "You're right, it is. I'm sorry. I failed on integrity a little bit, maybe a little honor." Okay, I won't do it again. But then the next time I come over, I do the same thing. And then the next time I come over, I do the same thing.
That's because it's not possible not to flirt with Coco.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's really hard not to. I mean, I would give you some grace. I'll just give you some like blacked out glasses next time. I'm like, here, wear these. I'm helping you out.
Here's your glasses. Here's your cane. Welcome to my house.
Exactly. But no, I think
it's a repeated behavior.
Yeah,
there it is. Exactly. Say that again, Wraith.
It's a repeated behavior. I don't believe that value, and I'm not apologetic for when I'm not apologetic to you, and I'm not apologetic to the people that I have that trust with. All right, then they can say I don't believe that. But if you catch me in a moment of weakness and I say you're right, I apologize. I would walk right in to Coco and say, hey, I'm sorry if I offended you in any way. I offended Glenn. That wasn't my intention. It'll never happen again. And it never happens again. Then you've held me responsible, I guess, if you want to put it that way, accountable for my actions. And I've taken steps to make sure that doesn't happen again.
And I think that's different. That's different from when we say, I could do it because I'm this now, though. You see what I'm saying?
I understand what you're saying, but you're getting wrapped around why they're doing that.
No, it's not why. It's not why. It's that I'm thinking about it as if I am making excuses for my behavior, right? If I tell Phil, like, hey, Phil, you know what? I'm going to be there at work with you at 8 a.m. every day. But I'm there at 8:45 every day.
Too early.
Or
that's a problem, Glenn.
If I'm not able to, you got a job. If you tell your boss says works at this time, you agree to be in work at this time, and you're constantly always late, and you always have an excuse, and there's always you're not being accountable to what you said. So they don't have to be.
No, you're not being responsible. You're not being responsible for what you said.
That's true.
And then you're not holding yourself accountable.
Exactly.
That's the process. Now, I want to talk about the little thing that you brought up was that they're telling men that it's okay to cheat. All right. What they're trying to do is sell them that if you buy my course, you're going to be this guy that can go out and have as many women as he wants. All right. I don't think they're using that as a way to say, if you change who you are, and this is the snake oil I'm talking about. If you change who you are, then the world's totally different for you. You don't have to worry about your honor. You don't have to worry about your integrity, because women are going to fall out of the sky right into your bed, and you're never going to have to leave the house. They're going to pay for you to do everything that you need to do. That's a dream that they're building for these guys. I don't build that dream for men. I don't think anybody on this panel builds that dream for men, because that's not what we're selling. We're not selling in order to be alpha. You have to have you have to be able to go out and get a count of 500 plus women.
Now that snake oil that's being sold, that's a problem. Would you agree?
Well, wait. I got to ask a fundamental question here. I think that accountability may be defined differently by people on the panel. Actually, you guys, we know what the definition is.
I have it right here.
What is it?
I have it from Webster's dictionary. It says, the quality or state of being accountable, an obligation or willingness to accept responsibility or to account for one's actions.
Required, expected to justify actions or decisions of responsible means. Right. So an obligation or willingness to accept responsibility, or the second one is what? To account for another one's actions.
No, for one's actions. Not it doesn't say another one's actions. Mine says one's actions.
One's actions. Yeah. So that would be the same person.
Yeah.
Well, when we say that people in our space need to be held accountable by whom? Whom holds them accountable? Themselves?
Well, one, you should be accountable to yourself. Absolutely.
Okay.
But two, if you are telling people, that X, Y, and Z, if we all say like cheating is bad, or let's say if we're all saying that being a cuck is a negative thing, right? But then it comes to find out that we're cucks, then aren't we telling everybody that we're a negative thing, or if we're telling people don't be a cuck, don't do this, don't do that, then we're doing those exact behaviors?
I don't necessarily use red pill terms for a reason. Okay.
Yeah. It's like accountability, man. It's real simple, man. I mean, you got to define the behavior first and foremost, either in yourself or in the other individual you're going to hold accountable. That's it. You define the behavior.
Yeah.
And then you communicate about it. You talk about it. You try to reason it out. You try to work that stuff out, man. Because you don't want to dissolve those relationships. You want to work on and improve those relationships. Hey, I'm going to hold you accountable because I care about you, number one. Number two, I'm bringing this awareness to you. And once you do that, you assess whether they've learned from that accountability. Did they even learn from it? Or did you learn yourself because you were holding yourself accountable? Fuck, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm chilling the fuck out. I'm doing the right thing. I'm doing what I say. It doesn't matter what it is. Hey, I'm flipping the fucking front porch light on every morning when I go to my night shift job, to keep people from, breaking into my home. And then following through. It's not like once you hold yourself accountable or another human being accountable, it's not that you just say, okay, well, it's done, said and done and forgotten about. You follow through with that occasionally, man, and make sure they're still on that fucking course, man, that path. Or yourself, you look yourself in the mirror in the bathroom after you brush your teeth. Hey, bitch, are you taking care of your business? Where are you failing yourself today? You see what I'm saying? There's steps to that accountability, and I think that, telling guys it's okay to be a cheater is incorrect. I agree with Wraith. It's 100%. It's selling snake oil just to make dollars. I disagree with that 100%.
I want to address that real quick. It's okay to cheat. I know Fresh and Fit like to constantly spout that. I know context, and I know both of those guys. You have to understand the context for which that's said. Everybody misses the context. Everybody. And then they clip pieces of it out to put that out there. That is not the context that they're saying. They're not saying it's okay to cheat in isolation. I know those guys. I spoke with them. I've been with them.
No, I know Modern and Fresh too. That's not what they do. Yeah, that's not what they're saying.
The ability to be able to cheat,
right,
is what they fucking believe.
Right.
And I'll plant my flag on that.
Yeah.
7 days a week, 365 days.
Well, yeah, because it kind of goes back to every girl wants a guy who has the ability to cheat, but who doesn't. Like what Rolo says.
And here's the thing. I mean, if you're going to talk game and you're going to talk even in a relationship game, dread is real.
Yep.
Okay. And I don't want to sit there and say that you should live your life by dread every minute of the day, because you shouldn't. But the thing about being a high value man, or a man that this one woman thinks is high value, okay, is that dread's automatically there. You don't have to worry about it. All you have to do is make sure that you don't do things that decrease your value in her eyes. All right. And that's when we talk about ultimatums, soft ultimatums, letting her break boundaries, and not with no consequences, Because here's the thing: every time you break a woman's boundary, there is always consequences. Okay.
Consequences.
And see, that's another thing I want to bring up. Do we? And because I said, and one of my questions here is like, what are the consequences of lacking accountability or lacking responsibility?
I think people lose. Okay, I think people lose respect. Okay, since I said respect, I'm going to classify it a little bit. Okay, respect is something that you have in you that people can admire, and something in yourself that you can admire. Okay, that's self-respect. When other people admire something in you, that's respect. Okay. Way too many people enter relationships with a street understanding of respect. Respect can't be taken; it can only be given.
Okay? Say that again.
Respect can't be taken; it can only be given. All right. So, I don't expect anyone to respect me. I do expect people to be courteous to me. And if you're not courteous to me, you'll find out about it because I'll say something about it. But you don't have to respect me. You don't know me. There may be something you don't, you've never known me, met me. So why should you automatically respect me? But you should be courteous. That's a social construct or social norm that we have. Everyone should be courteous to everyone. Okay. Way too many people think they can beat people into respecting them, or challenge people into respecting them, but you can't. Someone that respects you out of fear or gives you that facade of respect out of fear is always plotting on how they're going to kill you at some point in your life.
Yep.
Oh man.
So, but here's the thing they find interesting, right? We all say, especially today, modern women lack accountability. And their response will be, if you don't like the way things are, men need to be accountable because it's a man's world. Men built this, and men allowed us to be this way. So
men aren't accountable. Men aren't accountable to women as a whole. Men are accountable for society and creating a society that they can exist in and women can coexist in. That's accountability that we're talking about. We're not talking about just because you're a man, woman, you can hold every woman accountable. I don't want to hold every woman accountable. I don't like every woman.
Exactly. Exactly.
So what you're saying is the women you do hold accountable, Wraith, you care about.
Right.
See, that's another important thing, right? So the people that we criticize, or if we call out, if I'm not willing to call you out, or if my people are not willing to call me out on my mistakes or my shortcomings, then they don't care enough about me to call me out.
Yeah, so they don't care enough about you to hold you accountable.
Exactly.
That's where you're going to have to limit your circle. To screen your circle if that's the case, right?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. I mean, on average, people have about 150 people that they associate with over their lifetime consistently. Okay. So when you get on the internet and you've got 1 million followers, how many of those are you actually consistently associating with? Still only about 150 people. Okay. So if you're working with someone and you're developing that relationship with them through, the work that we do, you're going to know things about them, and you're going to be empathetic about some things. You're going to be challenging and hold them accountable for other things. All right. And and I'm going to tell you, that's actually based on your experiences, not theirs.
Profound. Right. It's called balance, isn't it, Wraith?
Right.
It's the balance of it, man. That's the thing, Shit, dude. Just break the fucking internet already, Wraith. Jesus Christ, man.
Well, I got an interesting take on accountability here. Let's broaden the terms for accountability. Does not YouTube hold all of its creators accountable?
Yeah, because it gets canceled
to
your
its
channels.
terms of service.
Quit crying, Glenn.
They love you because they called you out for your shortcomings. They absolutely loved you and cared for you as the inner circle because they called you out by name. Now, Rumble obviously doesn't care about you because they didn't call you out by name and they don't hold their viewers accountable. What an interesting thought experiment.
Yeah, YouTube cares a little too much, apparently.
Now, wait. We can't have it both ways, right?
Well, I mean, those are that accountability is based on an
agreement.
Well, but it's a global standard of, what they feel it's a third party, a global understanding of what they feel would harm.
It's a perceived harm. And that brings us up to a much larger question, Wraith. Do you believe that somebody who can freely share words is dangerous? Let's take the manosphere. Glenn, are these guys broadcasting this information in the manosphere? Are they dangerous?
I don't think they're physically dangerous. I mean, I would say there's maybe one or two that I would say that I would not advise anybody to receive information from.
So
But
are words dangerous, and can adult humans can they decipher and decide for themselves when it comes to words?
nowadays, I don't think so.
I think the First Amendment says we can.
I think they
no.
can,
I
and I
think we
think
have
they
the right to
always
say whatever we
can.
want.
There's no
but
exception.
I don't think adult humans are capable to cipher things that are being said, because that's exactly what we're seeing people act out, and like just like the autisticness of things or people behaviors today. It's pretty bad. It's like you literally have to spell things out and clarify what you're saying, because people will take what you say to the extreme, and then they will just go off on that extreme tangent and assume that that's what you're implying.
And so what?
Kind of like calling out names.
Yeah, but so what? I mean, so what?
Hey, man, there was a shameless plug there, okay?
All right.
Jesus.
It's just words. Are words really dangerous? They really harming anybody?
No. These are just words on a screen.
Words are nothing.
Okay,
But I
let
will
me
say
say
this.
this about words. Let me say
But
this.
I will say this though. The Bible does say that your tongue is a double-edged sword. You can speak life or death. So yes and no. Your words cannot make you do something. Words can influence you to that you choose to do something, but words in itself does not cause threat. Whether you accept what is said and you choose to act on it, that's your choice.
Yeah, but Odin says my fist is a hammer. I mean, the word thing, I mean, there's a lot of people, that's a very, very much a fad right now to say that words are harmful, and that gives
You're making me go violence. You're making me go violence.
Yes, but that's only a small step. We got a lot of history there. Adult humans,
so-
whether
but
they have
here's the thing.
capability or not, should not be restricted in their words.
But here's the thing. Okay, yes, words have power. I totally believe that. Okay, and if you go to the Bible, the first thing in the Bible says, "And God created the Word." All right, what is the Word? Word is the ability of thought. It's the ability of thought, and to converse that thought to someone else. All right. Now, when you and I went to school, Thor, we had spelling bees, and in the spelling bees, we had to spell the word. We had to give the meaning of the word, and then we had to use the word in a sentence so that we understood the context. Okay. The problem now is you can say a word to someone and it doesn't mean the same thing. Okay. Because by manipulating words and assigning other meanings to them, they change the power of the word.
Yep.
Okay. So
But
do we have a responsibility to converse in a way that gives the truth? Yes, we do.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Now, with everyone having their own truth these days, are people going to be offended? Yes, they are.
Yep.
All right. But it doesn't change the fact, okay, that changing the word now doesn't change the fact of how we developed as a human race, whether it's in the sexual market value, psychological market of how we think. But the problem we have in America today is way too many people can't think past 30 seconds at a time. They can't take input less than 30 seconds at a time or more than 30 seconds at a time. And there's no thought given. They feed off of the bit. I go back to this, I think it was the 80s. We had Max 70s, 80s, maybe it was the 80s, 90s. Max Headroom. Remember that show?
Yeah.
Okay. They listen to the talking heads and they believe what the talking heads say. And there's no true discernment, judgment, or critical thinking when it comes to what other people say.
Yeah, because they're allowing those words they're just relying on those people spewing those words and not putting any kind of work in there. You know what I mean?
Because it makes them feel a certain way.
Yeah, and so that's it, right? I would always say that, words are one thing, your actions are another. Walking a walk is one thing, but talking and walking the
It's
same
like the
are what
medium is the
matters the
message.
most.
Yeah,
That's
right,
the thing,
Glenn.
right? You're who you are as a human being. I don't care if you're a man, woman, or if you identify as a cat or whatever. If you're going to be the best damn cat, be in a litter box, do whatever you're going to do. The thing is, hey, don't talk about it, be about it.
Right.
And that comes down to when you're brushing your teeth and you look yourself in the mirror and you say, hey, well, where am I screwing up? Am I handling my business? Because see, that's the thing, right? Accountability is real simple, man. When you look at yourself in the mirror, you know if you're making a mistake or not. We all have that voice inside of us. Hey, this isn't right. I shouldn't be doing this. I'm screwing this up. But it doesn't matter. It's going to be okay. Whatever happens, happens. That lack of understanding of oneself is the problem. I think a lot of people, they have problems with words these days is because of the simple fact is they're dragging around a bunch of shit with them that they haven't dealt with. And I've got an 18-year-old daughter. These kids are like friggin' marshmallows. I mean, you need to almost bubble wrap them. You can't say anything to them without them losing their shit.
Well, do you think,
and it just seems to me like, Wraith and Thor are the older gents in the squad, and then it's me and Laurent, and then Glenn. The thing is, I just see generationally, it's just people are just inherently mentally weaker and softer. They can't take shit.
Yeah,
Here's what you got to teach
Here's the thing about words, though. I want to ask you guys this, and you guys are right. Like Thor or Wraith, you guys are right when you say that words meant something. And then over time, they have changed it. So here's my question to you guys. If you bang a tranny, are you engaging in gay sex?
Bro.
So the changing of
I
words.
just wanted
really,
to know, because if that there's people out there.
No chill.
So let me
it's a bigger answer, because it's fifth generation warfare, what you're actually facing in the culture. Gentlemen, we live in a time of warfare, and changing the words is that warfare. And that's really holding everybody accountable, is to the accountability for what words mean.
Exactly.
So society has a certain cohesion. Society
even...
has to have this cohesion, and we are changing the words. That's exactly what you said. What is a man? What is a woman? If we disagree on these fundamentals, how do we do business transactions? How do we help each other? I mean, the best advice that I can offer anybody, and I have forever, is don't believe everything you hear and only half of what you see, because we are in this war.
So I think one of the issues is there's a time for abstract thinking, okay? And if you're going to propose a theorem or something like that, or then that's the time for abstract thinking. All right. In the sense that you want to look at all the possibilities. All right. But if you gauge it against science or society, and if it doesn't fit in a I guess law, rule, truth that makes sense for you or anyone else, then it's not good. Okay, what are they trying to do right now? They're trying to remodel society. They're trying to remodel society through abstract thought. All right, and it takes away from, because in that realm of the abstract thought, there's no reason to understand truth, because you're trying to define, or you're trying to challenge the law or the truth. All right, with possibility. But possibility doesn't indicate probability. Okay, and it doesn't indicate truth. Now, does subjectiveness come into the truth? I don't think so.
But objective reality is objective.
Right.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I mean, there is no subjective anything. The truth is the truth. You know, I mean, it doesn't matter. there is no, yeah, there's no way around it. And the thing is, you know, when it comes to the truth, I mean, you know inside if you're fucking telling a lie, and if you're being a shitbag or not, you know inside.
You know,
Doesn't matter.
when you use an example like if I cut my hand off, I know I'm not going to have a hand. And I can't just because I say, well, I see a hand and I think there's a hand there. I'm still not going to be able to pick shit up. That's the truth. That's truth. All right. So from that standpoint, you know, that's subjectively true. My subjective view of it may be that I can still feel and pick things up with it, but I can't.
Well, here's the question then. I mean, if words are important, if definition and meanings are important, don't we have a responsibility? Because I think men, as men, we have this weird understanding between responsibility and fault. We're not always to blame for things, but we do have the responsibility to act. So we may not be to blame for this generation's use of verbiage that doesn't make sense anymore, that where you could say that you bang trannies but you're not gay. No, like we have a responsibility to
he had to get it in there, Phil.
I did.
Dude, let that shit fucking lay down and rest, man.
I gotta make fun of somebody, you know. But it's like if we have a responsibility, like say, no, this is what the definition is.
We'll just use the Bill Clinton definition. What is there, Glenn?
Maybe that's where all problems all started. Our president dropped the ball.
Yeah, Lawrence got his hands up, man.
Laurent, hop in.
Well, it's interesting you talk about definition because it's important to go back to definition, and they mean different things to different people. For example, integrity. The classic meaning is you say what you do, and you do what you do what you say when you say what you do. So you say you're gonna do, and you do it in time and on time. And when you fail, you have a responsibility to communicate and restore integrity. Now, accountability, for instance, loyalty. Loyalty means different things to men and women. For example, loyalty for men, it means we are true to the word, we are true to the commitment. Loyalty for the women is they're true to their feelings. So this is why, for instance, for men, the concept of being loyal is honor attached to it because the consequences. Accountability comes with consequences. Whereas loyalty to my feelings is, oh, if I love this guy, I'm going to ride or die. It's Bonnie and Clyde. But when I stop loving this guy, I'm still true to my feelings. But then it comes with a divorce paper.
It does.
So it's almost like the understanding.
So go back, circle back on the consequences again, though. One more time.
The idea there is accountability comes with consequences. We guys have a burden of honor. We have a burden of we know that we are held accountable, meaning that there will be consequences. We can't escape from that because amongst men, we have a burden of performance. If you fail out of integrity too many times, then the consequences is that you're a person of lower character, lower integrity, lower honor. People stop trusting you. People don't want to do business with you. You decrease your standing. It doesn't happen the same with women, for instance, unless they find out, which is why like the concept of being found out and caught is terrible for women because it's ostracism. It's like this is why they squeal so much about the body count. If they wore the body count on their forehead, it's like, wait, you're a person of low value, therefore you don't deserve to. You don't deserve the respect that you want to have. You don't deserve the resources that you need to. You just was that the town bus or the town bicycle, something like that? Does it make sense?
Yeah. Oh yeah, that makes perfect sense. I want to real quick, you guys. There's 23 people in here, 22 people in here. All right, and if you guys want to hear a little bit more from the audiobook that I'm working on for Thor's Dominant Masculine Presence, I need to see at least 3 super chats in the chat, and we'll release another 4 minutes at the end. Now, mind you, this is a project that we've been working on. It's a dope project. So if you guys want to hear it, exclusive, make sure that you guys get 3 super chats in. But here
Gotta
we
get
go.
that hat trick.
I think that LeBron hit something on the head there. Women are accountable to their feelings, right? They're not accountable to loyalty like men are. So then, are we as men, are we dumb to expect them to respect loyalty or be accountable the same way we are?
It's interesting, like Redonku, I'm going to put his comment up here, and I want Laurent to go ahead and circle on it with his primary topic here of feelings and, responsibility and all that good stuff. He says, objectivity is ultimately truth, but subjectivity is significant. How we interpret words define the framework for an objective truth. Does that look red? Can have many answers, even if it is 100% red. Does that tie into the feelings and what you were talking about there? Laurent, go ahead and comment on that, man. Let's hear something.
I like vermilion.
Vermilion to me.
It's vermilion. You Crayola man.
My thing is, like, how can we hold somebody to our expectation or understanding of accountability or responsibility if the other party doesn't share that same value or understanding?
You can't. It's completely impossible. You
So
cannot.
then how are men? Then men don't have any ground to hold the women accountable if women are only accountable to their feelings.
Yeah, it's called next.
Yeah.
There it is, right there. There's no other answer to it. If she will not raise to the standard expected, then what is she doing there in the first place?
Absolutely.
So that's how you hold them accountable. And that goes both ways. I mean, ladies, once again, this is not just about, bashing girls here. Ladies, if your dude isn't handling his business and breaking his agreements with you, what are you doing?
So somebody in my group said something one time. Well, if she's not living in my frame, am I living in her frame? And I said, yeah, could be, but not necessarily. You guys could be living in the same house at 2 different frames and making each other miserable.
Yep.
Okay. Or the way to look at it is, does your frame create a space where she can bring her frame into there? And, does the agreement give her the ability to be the person she wants to be, and at the same time being the person that you want her to be?
That's a good point right there, man.
So, I mean, if your frame is so strict, like, sex every day, everything I say goes, submission is submission, and you're looking for, a slave, and you're not helping her self-actualize. Everyone has to self-actualize to some extent. Okay. The thing is your frame big enough that she's self-actualizing to benefit you and for you? Okay. And does that self-actualizing, if she's doing it for you, does it actually give her the feelings that she wants in the relationship?
Yeah, the guy that you're talking about before he handles the super chat, that said, is she living in mine or if I'm living in hers? How long were they together, and how long did it take before they ended up in the position they were in? You know what I'm saying? That's the question.
Right.
Do men's frames actually increase or get more astringent or stricter or harder the more the agreements or lack of accountability in the relationship or the responsibilities not being met by one or either party? Does that not affect the frame overall? Like, hey, then you're living in an ultimatum and it's going to fail. It goes back to the mule rule. 1, 2, 3, you're out of there, right between the eyes.
But way too many men, they listen to this stuff about men can cheat. Women have to be this certain way. and you're using general terms like submission. All right. Submission doesn't mean slavery. Okay. It means acceptance of your authority. Okay. There's a difference between slavery and that. Slavery is enforced, and submission is acceptance.
I think the submission would be more the desire to follow what's in or required. I think obedience is more of a acceptance. I'm going to obey this because I'm going to accept to do this because I don't want the punishment or the consequence of not, that comes with not doing this.
Yeah, but is that an ultimatum?
No.
I'm
asking Ray.
What acceptance of your authority?
Yeah, the consequences. Yeah, like spinning off of what I asked you about the gentleman in your group. Did they get to that position in their frames, and did his frame get stricter and stricter and stricter because the failure?
Right. That's what happened. Ultimately, I think what happens is that it creates a push-pull. Okay. As they keep pushing against the boundaries, you keep pulling back in. The farther they push out, the more you double pull again to compensate for that. All right. That creates going from being dominant to domineering. Okay. I've never been with a woman in a relationship where I had to be domineering.
Yeah, because you got the one mule rule, the mule rule in place.
Right. And I'm always upfront and honest about that.
I'm never gonna forget that. You scarred me with that shit, bro.
But
submission is about one of the best triggering words, and it's been changed a lot. And
well, I mean, I can see why. I can see it too, though. Why it has been, because for a while, submission, even from the male standpoint, was always defined in the way of domineering or being,
Well, I think it was emotionally defined that way, but the actual definitions don't state it like that. I mean,
it's what
accepting or yielding, to
it's not even
authority of another
what's being
person.
defined, right? It could be spelled out this way, but what's being displayed or execute the way that it's being executed, as we said, words are important. The definitions of these things are important, and if they're not being displayed in the form of their definition as defined, and then they're now associated with a certain type of behavior, then that's going to be a bad word. It's going to be a negative word. It's going to be looked at bad.
And that leads us right back to this confusion and conflict and debate that's been projected amongst people as this fifth generation warfare changed the meaning of words. Right. I saw the submission thing done in BDSM circles. It was pretty interesting. Phil, you'll know this. And that was the act when it was defined as the act of giving something valuable for a decision made by others. So that was the submission. You're giving this valuable submission to somebody for making decision or taking authority over.
We men.
That was protection. Yep.
We male exist in a world where submission is natural because we exist in a hierarchical order. Example.
Hypocrisy, yeah.
Example, like here we on Thor podcast, so we honor Thor. Do we lose any value by doing so? No, we raise each other's value. But submission exists naturally to us. We always exist in hierarchical order. When animals meet together, naturally, instinctively, they submit to the rule, to the leadership of one. It's just because we understand that to get shit done, everybody's got their role. So
it creates a form of communication too. It sets up a hierarchy, like you say, and a method of communicating, even non-verbally.
Well, and I think when you look at male, female, no leadership, female submission, okay, you have to understand that leadership has there's two prongs to leadership. There's authority and responsibility. Okay, and when you look at it from that standpoint, women want, or submission is viewed from men only have authority. Okay, they don't look at the responsibility men have in the relationship.
Mm.
All right, and some of that's because of the way men are portrayed, and some of it's because of past men's actions. But
there you go, the past men's actions, the failures, they drag that shit around.
Right, and then the other thing is I think if you're going to be a leader and you're going to be if you're going to be a husband or the male leader in the family, you have to also you also have to understand stewardship. Okay, be a steward of the women, children, and things.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a sense of responsibility and accountability to take that role, right? If you are going to be the one leading, you have responsibility and you have to be accountable for not upholding your responsibility.
Well, and it's the accountability that develops the stewardship.
Yes.
Laurent,
hop in here because I know you got something to say.
In the sphere, like there's a meme like, oh, women are allergic to accountability. I don't think they're necessarily allergic to accountability. What they're allergic to is the responsibility that comes with it.
Mm.
In a nutshell, they are allergic to responsibility, to the consequences.
Well, I want to read something, and then you know what, guys? If you guys want to do the audio, you need 2 more super chats. If not, we're gonna next time. But I want to read something real quick, and I found this on this blog here. It says, women's problem is they want freedom without accountability. They don't want the burden of leadership, being held accountable and blamed when things go wrong, but they don't want to feel like they're not in control of things either. As you can see, there's 2 things. These 2 things don't compute. They don't compute because power comes with responsibility. That's its cost. If you want more say over things, you got to take up more responsibility by applying your competence to it, which means being held accountable when it goes wrong and the pressure that comes with that. Ultimately, women need to choose what they hate more, responsibility or powerlessness.
Exactly.
What would you guys say about that?
Well, I agree wholeheartedly. 100%. That's the thing, right? Is, and Danny Otter, I'm going to put it right up here. He kind of coined what I'd said, it says the past men's actions. Damn, I've been paying the consequences of Chad Tyrone and Phil's previous actions this whole time, laughing out loud.
We're all paying for Phil's actions. Okay, we're all paying for Phil's actions.
But what I want you to understand, though, is one thing. This goes back to the mule rule that Wraith laid out on us earlier in the stream. Not all women are leadable.
Correct.
And you got to be able to fall back to that right there, that default mechanism. Okay, it's the sunk cost fallacy is what the RP, folks like to say a lot, but the thing is to hold a woman accountable, and it takes skill and it takes craftiness.
Yes.
And that's the thing, right? Is you can't just overtly do it. You almost have to let them hang themselves before they realize it, and then say, okay, well, you see, here's the fundamental issues and why we are where we are today. And once that realization hits home, once that realization really fucking sinks the fuck in, that's when they hold themselves accountable. Fuck.
Right. Well, and I'll tell you,
want some finesse. Yep.
Yes, sir.
In my current relationship and every relationship I've ever had, I've told every woman, I am not going to be responsible for what some other guy did to you. Just that simple.
Yeah. I think that's
I missed that one. Dang it, Wraith. Why'd I got to meet you? Where were you 20 years ago, bro? Shit.
He had hair back then. You wouldn't have recognized him.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we're gonna wrap it up here. But I want to throw one question out as we go do a round table. But do you guys believe that you guys could only hold people accountable that hold value, that they hold you a value?
Yes.
If I don't know you, and if you don't know me, you telling me that I'm doing something wrong, I don't know who the fuck you are. You ain't holding me to shit, But to your people, right? To the people that you admire, or you respect, or that are in your foxhole. I like to call it the foxhole. You know, people that you are in the foxhole with, then those are the ones that will be held. You can accept accountability from. Would you guys agree? And then go ahead and answer that question. Then tell us where we can find you guys. We can wrap this up.
Yeah, who do you want to go first? You want me to go first?
Yeah. We'll start with you.
Yeah, man, I think that, the first off, when it comes to accountability, really quick, I'm going to just blurb this stuff out real fast as we're wrapping up, man. Accountability is real simple, man. If you hold yourself accountable first, if you got shit in your life that's on fire, don't try and hold anybody else accountable. Get your shit straight first. And that's going to take some time, depending on where you're at. For me, it took about 3 good years of really working on myself and getting straight. Then I started holding the people around me accountable. You can find me at Phil Foster _ on all social media platforms. Once again, Thor, thank you so much for throwing the DragonShip out here, man. Wraith, once again, another week of wisdom from you. Laurent's good to see you. Glenn, good job on the show today. Excellent topic. I think that men need to definitely hold themselves accountable first before they hold anybody else accountable in their life. And that starts with, after you brush your teeth, looking in the mirror and saying, bitch, where are you failing? I'm fixing it. That's all I got.
Fucking A. Thank you, Phil.
Yes, sir.
Laurent, the man from Tokyo.
I completely echo what Phil said. I'm in complete agreement. If you hold yourself to certain standards and you uphold those standards, then this is how you this is how you carry yourself in this world. And people will respect that. And this is how you get business done. This is how you get shit done. And this is how you enforce boundaries naturally. So I have nothing to sell you, but it's an honor and a privilege to be in the company of men. Every time I learn from the wisdom of Wraith, from the strength of Phil, from the sexiness of Glenn. This guy is single-handedly, I mean, he drives Greta. You guys, you're so hot. Saint Greta is having a meltdown somewhere. And thank you very much, Phil.
Oh, you're welcome, man.
Ray,
So,
where we can find you? Where we can find you, Ray?
Wraith Team Tour on all social medias and Yahoo. But let me say this about I think that we as men we have a responsibility to hold ourselves accountable. But I agree with Phil. If your life's a dumpster fire, the only accountability you're going to have is a hose waiting to put it out. And if you're not doing that, then you're never going to be able to stand up and say, this is who I am. And when you can do that, and you understand your boundaries, your frame, and you understand what your expectations are in relationships, whether they're with women, men, or work, all relationships have the same basis. You have to come in and be the true, authentic you. You have to live and exhibit the values and stuff that you say you have. And then when you fail, you have to hold yourself accountable.
Absolutely. Good words. Words of wisdom. Thor.
Yeah, I mean, fantastic episode, Brother Glenn. This is incredible, man. I'd like passing the helm on to you. That's fantastic. Guys, for me, we're going to play the audiobook, Danny. I will sit here and we'll play at least another 4 minutes. I have it queued up and ready to go. We just need to do that. You didn't have to carry it on your own, but thank you very much. I am also going to post in the chat right now a link to the Rumble on all channels for the first chapter of A Dominant Masculine Presence by R.P. Thor, and read by an amazing actor, our own Glenn Lawrence. So you can check it out. It'll be posted up for an additional 2 weeks before it turns private. And guys, keep this in mind. You can, as far as accountability, you need to hold yourself personally accountable. It's part of your masculinity for sure. It's being able to hold yourself to your own standards. And will you falter? Of course, but that's what we do as humans and bring ourselves back. And you might be looking out there and you're seeing you're putting your life together and you're having this wonderful unicorn that's in your life. But look again, look through the red pill lens and you might find you actually have a dumpster rhino instead of a unicorn. So if that's the case, listen to RP Thor. I'm going to put an episode out that's going to fucking blow your socks off.
Right.
I have one single idea that I am going to pose to you that is going to correct the entire society's issues with what we have right now in regards to men and women, how they date, how they raise children, and you should pay attention to this. It's gonna be quite interesting. I've been working on the empirical evidence right now. Lauren knows what I'm talking about. So keep an eye out for that. That's where you'll find me in the future. When you're ready, go ahead and get yourself. I'll cue it up for us, Glenn. And
yeah,
go ahead and take yourself out, and I will set this present. Okay.
Yeah. So you guys, wrapping this up, for me, you guys can find me at Glenn_Lawrence, or on YouTube, Glenn Lawrence _presents, on Instagram, Glenn_Lawrence_presents. Like everybody else said, before you could hold anybody accountable, you have to hold yourself accountable. You have to ask yourself, are you accountable enough? And because here's the thing, if we don't hold ourselves accountable, it doesn't matter if we try to hold somebody else accountable. They're going to be like, why should we listen to you? Why should I hold myself accountable if you fail to do the same? So we got to have the integrity to hold ourselves accountable. And you have the right to hold your woman accountable. And if you don't, you're not doing her a disservice. You're doing her a disservice. And guess what? There will be times that she will hold you accountable to your own word. And that's okay too. So accountability, it starts with yourself. Stop worrying about everyone else. And that's all I got to say.
All right, Glenn, I'm going to cue it up. We'll get you another 4 minutes. I have it from the queued section that we had last time. And we'll let another 4 minutes rip, and we'll take ourselves out and go full screen. How about that? Let me get rid of that comment. Here we go. Comment. Here we go, guys.
Hold on, guys. We are working on the audio issue right now. Just bear with us 1 second. Yep, we're getting it right now.
So obviously we're having some technical difficulties here. I see Glenn on the screen. And there we go. Yep, Glenn, you're muted.
I'm pulling it up right now, so don't worry, guys. I'm sorry. Because it wasn't working on Thor's end, so I'm pulling it up right now.
We just had a few technical snafus. Just bear with us real quick, guys.
All right, here we go.
Danny, I got you, bro. Just reach out to me when you're ready.
Emotional behavior to them or ignore them, and how you pass a woman's fitness test to confirm that your DMP is genuine and not fake. DMP is emotional durability, and how you regulate your feelings to control your moods to your advantage. DMP is not based on emotionalism, but on empiricism and stoicism, employed to strengthen your rational mind. DMP is passionate and compassionate. These learned traits and behaviors, when practiced socially and used correctly, produce a maximum benefit for a DMP man. A solid, confident identity that is socially calibrated amplifies a man's success in all aspects of his life and allows him to leverage these social networks to his advantage. Part of the reason why I've chosen to write this book and provide the tools, techniques, and armaments to achieve and create your dominant masculine presence is that I have recognized over the last decades that emotionalism has been the pervasive language and trait of popular culture. A large segment of women have even begun to declare masculinity toxic and a mental dysfunction. Just as the American Psychology Association, we have been living in the feels before reals age for some 40 to 60 years now. I maintain that this has been done primarily to make you a good boy who will obey, consume, shut up, and sit down. Your place has been chosen for you, and your mate has been ordained just for you, if you worship the ground she walks on, that is. I have witnessed over my lifetime a period of raising boys that includes rites of passage that toughen and prepare boys to become successful, functioning men who could provide for and lead their families and keep their peers' best interest in mind. These kinds of rites push young boys and men past their emotional limits to achieve with willpower what they could not imagine enduring. Such achievement is the ultimate high-energy fuel for a man's core, encouraging the kind of excellence in men that could only be achieved by preparing for combat, street violence, economic competition, problem solving, securing resources, mate acquisition, and so on. This is summed up so well by the ancient Greek and Roman philosophers' concept of memento mori, remember death. Organizations that were not Marxist-based once taught boys what is required to be better versions of themselves and how to focus their instincts and desires to achieve a worthy lives of success. Today, openly Marxist groups use so-called fairness and emotionalism to stifle excellence in an attempt to make everyone think alike, often called progressive socialism, or to obfuscate it even further, diversity, equity, and inclusion guidelines. This is the cleverly disguised language of extreme Marxists who believe in using force and that the ends justify the means, now cleverly repackaging these ideals of power. The case is strong for Malthusian theory being implemented behind social constructionism. It's been ongoing for decades, as evidenced by big tech using cancel culture to silence those who criticize them. Who else has done this before? The USSR. That's who. The Chinese Communist Party just recently deployed cameras that judge their citizens' social score based on their knowing their place. Lose too many points and get their bank account frozen. Cell phone frozen. Sound familiar? Remember, no matter how hard you worked or not, everyone gets a trophy. We modern men have had our dominant presence whittled away by the so-called fairness and equality. As of this writing, 30% of modern men between 18 and 30 years old in the USA are now sexless virgins. Let that sink in.
And that is a wrap.
Thanks. That was great. Great episode, Glenn. I'm going to try to get something out soon on that other one. So I might be calling you later because it's a jumble for me right now, and I want to do it right and concise. So, oh, there's Phil. Get Phil back in here and get Laurent back in here. Man, what a great show. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. I always love having you guys.
You guys like, share the channels. If you got a comment or an opinion to say it with your chest in the comments. We'll respond. I know I will. But until then, you guys have a great day. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Peace.
I will. Hey, Phil. See, you're going to love what I'm going to do with the episode. I'm going to get super controversial. The only one that doesn't know. I have some evidence, and I'm going to point to the one change in our laws that fixes. You're muted, Phil.
Are we staying live on this one? On this discussion?
Yeah, you do not end